Hello and welcome to the Gory Details Horror Show. I want to introduce your host with the most and the least and some other things, Eric.
Oh, thank you, Casey. That was a lovely introduction there. Actually, and as you folks heard, yes, that's the wonderful, lovely Casey Pletcher.
What's with the accent?
What do you mean, what's with the accent?
It means
you did an accent.
It's kind of a dog shit accent.
What?
I'm just saying it's pretty awful.
Of course, that's the point.
You're going to offend a lot of the UK listeners, which, by the way, we're getting quite a few.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having a good attention span.
What?
The attention span. So far, Canada, Australia, and UK have lasted the longest into our podcast without turning it off.
You know what? My hat's
as
off
per
to them.
YouTube.
Okay.
And Mexico, which we have a lot of listeners.
Very nice.
Have
Very nice.
So far, the worst attention span. So
Where's this?
step up your game, Mexico.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So moving into our podcast, first of all, we want to give you a warning. There are spoilers coming up.
Indeed.
This is definitely one of our movie review related podcasts. First of all, the first podcast we have decided was a double feature. Creature double feature, if you will.
Yes.
So from now on, we're going to be splitting the podcast into shorter segments. Every other week, most likely doing a movie review. Every other week from that, different topics, horror-related news, whatever comes up. We're going to have different... You'll see in the description.
Basically, as Casey mentioned, different facets within the horror realm there. So please look out for that. Stay tuned. And I got to tell you, a lot of good stuff on this podcast today, Case. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, I think we are going to have more to talk about than
we have time to talk about.
Probably, yeah. We're going to have to cut it at some point because the listeners are going to get sick of our voice.
I'm certain of it. In fact, I'm kind of sick of my voice.
I think it's velvety smooth.
Oh, well, thank you, Casey.
I love it. I can listen
sweet.
to it for days.
Oh, thanks,
Actually,
Case.
if you just come in at night and
Sure.
whisper sweet nothings into my ear.
Whatever you want. Lullaby.
Oh, yeah.
Sing good night. How's that, huh?
I don't know.
Okay, whatever. Anyway,
it's better than the car alarm.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that was terrible last night. Okay, so
yes.
Other warnings do include listening to this podcast could cause you to spontaneously combust.
Ooh.
Yeah, so just having this in your ears,
Yes.
be careful. There are ear mites that come through your earbuds
I'm sorry.
into your ears.
What?
Ear mites.
And just what on earth is an ear mite?
I don't know. It's probably like an earwig, I would assume. It's going to latch into your ear and
these good old. See these good
and like bury and then start laying eggs.
Wow. Actually, that's
and
okay.
They're going to explode out of your ear.
Where did we
into
see
your
that?
Brain.
Where did we see that? Here we go. A little horror trivia for the listeners out there. Case, I think just stepped on a landmine there. So where did let's see, where did that reference come from?
I don't know because earwigs are real things.
Yes, indeed they are.
That's as far as that went.
Okay, sure. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll stop there. Okay.
Well, I thought you were saying it was a reference.
It is a reference.
Well, what's the reference, dude?
No, see, we can't do that. We're going to go ahead and challenge
No. You can't leave the listeners there. You have to give the reference.
Cliffhangers. People love them.
No,
I love them. They love me. We's going to get married tonight. Anyway.
No, I got to know what the reference is.
You don't really want to know. It's not important, actually.
It is important.
Of course not.
We can't keep fighting.
Oh, well, what can I say? The children aren't here, right? So we can fight all night.
Just tell me what the reference is so we can move on.
How about this? We'll close the show. Before we close the show, I'll go ahead and reveal it.
Okay, thank you. You better remember it.
Indeed.
Oh, man, that's like 2 minutes of people's lives wasted right there.
Well, wasted or enjoyed. Take your pick. It's all a matter of perspective anyway.
Anyway, listening to this podcast may attract bears.
What's that?
Bears. Like
the team or?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, you mean
we are in Chicago?
This is true.
So
today is actually this marks the season opener of our beloved Chicago Bears.
Your beloved Chicago Bears.
You are currently living in Chicago, correct?
Yeah.
Well, then that makes you a Chicagoan. Bob, what does he get?
Were there like a lot of bears here at some point? Is that why like everything is cubs and bears and shit like that?
You know, that's an interesting concept that I never really quite thought through.
I don't know. I just think it's hilarious that the Cubs, like, they've given up to the point where their shirts actually say "Please once before I die."
Ooh.
Have you seen those shirts?
No, I have not.
Yeah, their official shirts, I believe, say "Please once before I die."
What,
they want to win.
What are they referring to? A World Series?
The World Series. It's
Really?
been, like, I think 100 years.
Something
it's
like
been
that.
a century
Yeah,
since
definitely
they've won.
over a century. Absolutely.
So they're like begging God for them to win at least once before. Anyway, that we're way off base there.
Yeah, no, indeed.
Anyway, so those are the warnings. And now we're gonna move into a little quick business. So, first of all, I want to mention the fact that we are still currently sponsored by no one.
That's right, folks. No one. In fact, if you're listening to this today, tonight, tomorrow, whatever it is, and you enjoy what you hear, then guess what? Maybe you can sponsor us. Who knows? Maybe we can work something out. What do you think, Case?
Well, I think until then,
yes,
we are sponsored by the delicious
No
One, with its mountain-like flavor and a dewy type consistency.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, consistency.
I'm bad at advertising.
Well, it worked. Whatever.
But I mean, we'll be good for you if you want to advertise. Anyway, social media. Like us on the Facebook.
Yes.
Please.
Please.
At Gory Details HS for horror show. At Gory Details HS is our Twitter handle. The Gory Details at gmail.com.
Yes.
I think we forgot to say the last week.
Correct.
The Gory Details.
I'm
Gory
certain
Details.
that we have an onslaught of emails just waiting for us. So
Yeah.
now that we've clarified that, forget about it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, as far as listening goes, you have a lot of options now. We've put a lot of work into distribution. So, first of all, we are available on the YouTube.
Yes.
It took absolutely forever to make a video that's
What was
3.5 hours long.
Wow.
It's very basic,
Sure.
but you can listen on YouTube, which is really cool. We really would love it if you'd subscribe, if you'd like, if you want to share, if you want to comment, even if you want to tell us to go fuck ourselves.
Whatever it is.
Just whatever you want to do.
We invite it.
We do have the mainstay Buzzsprout, which is absolutely fine. If you want to download the podcast, I believe it's thegorydetails.buzzsprout.com. We have a lot of links on the social media, but that's where you'd want to go if you want to download it. Also, really big news. This week we got onto iTunes.
Yep.
Which you can listen for free on iTunes.
That's right, folks. Free.
And you can listen now on my favorite podcast distributor, Stitcher.
Stitcher, baby.
I love Stitcher. And I listen to all of my favorite podcasts on Stitcher. I listen to Joe Rogan, Duncan Trussell, Welcome to Night Vale.
You name it, they got it.
I mean, they got everything, and now they got us.
There you go.
So
That's
I want you to
folks.
press the little plus button
Go ahead and just press that
and
button.
put it into your stations.
Okay.
And then I want you to go through and I want you to give us a nice rating.
Please.
And even if you want, write a short review. But the point is, the more good ratings, or the more ratings in general that we get, the higher our visibility becomes on Stitcher, which is, like I said, one of my favorite platforms. It's a great app. It's free. It's absolutely free. You can listen to all your favorite podcasts in one place, including the Gory Details Horror Show. So
right,
I am asking you at home to download Stitcher or iTunes or, I don't know, get a life, because I don't know what you're doing without Stitcher and iTunes.
And let alone the Gory Details Horror Show, huh?
And without us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, if they're listening to us, then they're not without us.
Correct.
So that's kind of silly.
Yes.
As far as also social media goes, we have broken 1,000 Twitter followers in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
that's huge. Seriously.
You guys are amazing. We absolutely
Thank you very
love you.
much
And
for
we
that.
haven't, and they're completely unsolicited. We haven't paid for any of it, which is cool, because some
great.
people do, and those people suck. Which we're probably going to lose a couple followers because of that. And likes, thank you for liking us on Facebook. Share, like, comment. And speaking of commenting, a couple shout outs. First of all, I had a discussion the other day on Twitter with one Jim Holton at JC Holton 1968.
What's happening, Jim?
And Cheryl Keating at Cher CHER Keats KEATS 13. We had a great
Cheryl.
Conversation. Hello, Cheryl.
How's it going, Cheryl?
We had a great and Keating. I believe isn't that the noise that animals make? Like that high pitched whine that animals make when they're in distress.
Wow, is it
distress? when they are
it
in
is Sean
distress.
Connery on the next distress.
All right.
How's
anyway,
that? Yeah.
So we had a great discussion about the low sugar cult.
Ooh.
So we have decided.
Casey, what is the low sugar cult for the people who are just tuning in?
Oh, we have decided that since we have enough listeners now, we're going to start our own cult.
Oh.
Hashtag low sugar cult. If you want to join our low sugar Kool-Aid cult, which you are definitely going to want to drink quickly, because if you've ever had any kind of Kool-Aid type drink without sugar, you probably are going to want to kill yourself anyway.
And nothing quenches the thirst. The turf.
We can't say words.
I'm from Jamaica.
Jamaica.
It's from Zimbabwe.
Oh god, this is getting really racist. Really fast.
No, nothing about race, pal.
Anyway, ethnic. It's getting very ethnic very fast. All right. Anyway,
okay.
So the low sugar cult. We have decided that if you want to join us in drinking the Kool-Aid. Hashtag low sugar cult, spread it to your friends and we can all transcend to the other world together.
That's right. Spread it like a virus and a disease, all right?
Also, don't mention this to the FBI because I really don't want to knock on my door from the feds.
Ooh.
Again.
Okay. Ay, again. Pero ¿qué pasó, chico? ¿Qué tú tienes?
Yeah, no, not going to get into that. And also a shout out to at Lily the Dark Side. Okay. Lily, darling, we discussed Jeff the Ghost, which is a conversation we had on Twitter because she posted a picture of a ghost, and I recognize that son of a bitch. His name is Jeff, and he owes me money. Oh. So we started talking back and forth, and she said that, she wants a 10% finder's fee. And I'm like, oh, you know what? If you track him down, I will give you a 10% finder's fee. And on the other end, she said I should kidnap his family, his living family, of course. So after about, a few days now of like torturing his family, in front of the kids, like with the mother and peeling back her skin. Yikes. And making her eat all kinds of unnatural things. Well, he finally responded. Okay. So, good news. I got my money back from Jeff. Excellent. So that's a close. Yeah. We're good on that.
Silver linings.
I am really thankful to have my $10 back.
Sure. And hey, you know what? $10 is a lot nowadays.
Yeah,
it really is.
It goes a long way.
It goes a long way.
And it was definitely worth torturing a man's family, a dead man's family.
Yikes.
To get my $10 back.
Okay.
Long story short, don't borrow money from me. Ooh. And that's to you, Danny.
Okay. Yeah, that's wow.
No, I'm an asshole. He doesn't need to
no,
pay me back right now. He's not in a good place. Yes. Health wise. Okay. So today on the podcast.
So today's show is going to pretty much be a discussion involving the only John Carpenter's The Thing. This is a film that came out in 1982, and I'll tell you, Case, this is one of those films that really resonated with me, just with respect to it being a superior piece, a superior piece, if you will. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would imagine so. You said that you had first seen it when you were like 5.
Yeah, something like that.
Terrifying in its own right.
Yeah.
Not just because it's scary, but when it's scary that you were watching horror movies at 5 years old.
You think that's a little off?
I think it makes me question your sanity.
Well, that's a pretty solid observation there, pal.
No, but it is definitely one of, I'd say, the all-time best horror films ever made. I'd put it in the top.
Most definitely.
At least top 5, right?
Oh, top 5 indeed. Yeah. Top 2 for that matter.
Ooh, wow. That's a tall glass.
Yeah.
That's
well,
a big order.
I'll tell you something. That's how I feel.
I can see it. It is definitely one of the best, especially creature features
Oh man,
of all time.
Creature feature galore. Creature feature galore. I mean, and I'll tell you something. I mean, okay, this film stars the one, the only Kurt Russell. Badass he is, huh? As R.J. McCready, who, as great as he was in the film, one could argue that the biggest star is actually none other than Rob Bottin himself, Academy Award-winning special effects guy.
Yes, and we are going to get into all of that in the podcast. We are also going to discuss briefly just body horror in general as a genre. And we are going to have another installment of WOLF Action News, as well as dropping a song from hashtag Ghost Radio, The Brains, I'm Your Nightmare. An amazing song. I am honored that we had to have the privilege of playing one of their songs. One of my favorite psychobilly bands of all time. They're what got me into psychobilly, really.
Is that right?
Really. I know, like people, Necromantics or Coffin Cats.
Sure.
I totally get that. Good
Yeah,
bands.
definitely.
But these guys really introduced me to the genre. So we have the privilege at the end of the show of playing one of their tracks. And so let's get into it and let's get started.
So when you think of John Carpenter's The Thing, you think of many things, no pun intended.
We're going to have a lot of puns.
Oh, we're plenty of puns. I think, you can actually turn our podcast into a drinking game because you can pretty much have a shot for every pun, and
punny pun.
You probably come out annihilated.
And in our social media.
Yes.
Anyway,
so talking about John Carpenter's The Thing here. This is a film that really just raised the bar with respect to just many facets of film. We're talking, direction, performances, cinematography, screenwriting, everything down from the casting, the production. I mean, Casey, am I onto something here, or am I just kind of, talking out of my keister? Talk to me.
No, definitely. It was very original when it came out, I believe, even though it's technically a remake.
Actually, I'm glad that you brought that up because it is, in fact, a remake. And I'm going to go ahead and just say, I know lately I'm on the podcast and I have a tendency to really just hold certain pieces in such a high regard that it's like, wow, that's, really? Like, okay, ease up, pal. But it's genuine. It's genuine, okay? Anyway, so back to this. The Thing, in my opinion, is, I think it's the finest horror film to date. That's a tall glass, like we would say, but hey, it's the way I feel about it. But yeah, I feel that the centerpiece of all that pretty much lies with Rob Bottin's makeup work, his fabulous contribution to the practical effects of the film. I mean, Casey, we were just watching this a bit ago. This thing is still brutal. I mean, decades later.
Yeah. Oh, it's so visceral. Especially like the prop department, like the lifelike props, like
the organs
when they're the organs when they're dissecting. Look like there's something you would actually, like when you're witnessing an autopsy, they look like something you would actually see.
It seems feasible as I mean, that's a feasible depiction, I would say.
Yeah, just the like wet and slick, and the colors and and some things it diverts, but the colors for the most part with the gore and the organs and all that stuff, it maintains a very lifelike effect where a lot of B films will go very bright with the blood, or a lot of arts
very extravagant.
Yeah, or like Italian horror art
giallo.
Films.
Yeah, that's right.
They'll go really, really bright, or they'll go too opposite and they'll put like too much chocolate sauce or whatever the fuck, and it just gets really, really dark, which works for a film that has maybe a very like dark color
like
palette,
darker, exactly,
from a cinematography,
like your Dark Cities, your The Crows,
right,
Sin Cities.
What a good movie.
Oh,
but anyway, the movie kind of lighting wise and everything, and cinematography. I think it sticks to a very real world tone.
Definitely.
I don't think it goes
very
too
cold.
far. Like the filter isn't very different from the real world. But that it's very important that things like blood and organs and all that have that lifelike effect.
That they're depicted accurately.
Right. And of course, with the body horror and the modification, there's going to be a lot of otherworldly out there stuff. But when they do get into, like I said, like the dissection or that almost birthing sequence where they're ripping open the creature like a vagina.
Sure.
And it's just the way it splits, man. It's like I was in middle school. I had 2 different sex ed classes, one in elementary school, one in middle school.
Sure.
Which I really appreciate, by the way. I definitely
A shout out?
Yeah, shout out.
Do I? Hey,
shout out.
Do you smell that?
What's that?
A shout out.
Do they smell like something?
They smell like that new cologne that I'm wearing. Garbage.
And garbage, yes.
Garbage.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So, as shitty as the Florida public school system is, they at least had the foresight to know that a lot of people in Florida are fucking, especially at young ages.
Really?
So,
Pigs.
they gave us the sex ed video that they showed us. One of them showed a live birthing. So like an actual home video, and this woman has like fucking 1980s hair. It's curly, it's big.
It's got like that campy Debbie Does Dallas feel where it's just like, what am I watching here?
Right? So she's got this like giant fro and downstairs,
Whoa.
obviously, since she's, I don't know.
So the drapes are awfully crowded as well?
It's just, I mean, like, I know she's pregnant, but it's just like fur ball down there.
Like a Furby.
Anyway, so they're trying to get the baby out, and it's having trouble.
Oh, no.
So they take these scissors and they start cutting from the top of her vagina. They start cutting her body open. And they just
be quiet.
There's just this like yellowy pus.
Oh,
and it's just fucking opening up.
Are you
and they're
kidding
ripping
me?
this
Wait a
baby
second,
out.
wait a second. Let's
They ruined that poor woman's vagina.
Let's rewind.
I don't know if she'll ever have pleasure from there again.
Goodness, Casey, that's brutal. Why would they subject you to such?
I don't know. Like, I guess they wanted to show the beauty of childbirth.
No,
but
I understand
of all
that,
childbirths, it's one that they had to cut her open.
That's
like pretty
I mean,
bad.
yeah, that's a little. That's a little much. I think,
a little much,
just a little much.
Yeah. Well, the point is, that's what it reminded me of when they cut open that monster. Like, because it looked like a giant vaginal
So you had a
opening.
flashback.
I had a flashback to middle school, and
yeah, honestly, and I'll tell you something. It's interesting that you tie such a memory to that particular scene and sequence, because I can pretty much state the same
to that sequence.
Yeah, to that particular sequence. In fact,
you watched a woman get her vagina cut open.
What's that?
I said you watched a woman get her vagina cut open.
Not precisely. Not precisely. But I was watching the screening of the film. I like using the word screening. It's a little more distinguished. You know, it's like, would you like to screen the film, sir?
A certain je
Would you
ne
like
sais quoi.
a certain, like, it's hey, look at me, I'm not changing it. I'm changing my accent. Anyway, I gotta work on it. So basically what it is that we're here, right? I don't even know what I was talking about. What was I talking
Screening.
about?
You were talking
Yeah,
about
screening. Okay, so I was screening the film with my father. All right. And mind you, I was about, gosh, I don't know, 5 or 6 or something like that. And as a child, watching that particular sequence, that particular scene resonated with me then as much as it resonates with me now. And the thing that really, get it?
Little thing.
I know, I'm full of them. I'm just full. I'll be here all night. You know what I mean? Anyway, so yes, the thing that resonated with me most was the fact that it just my father just felt repulsed. He was just like, like just turn it off.
Wait, that scene?
Yeah.
I thought it was the one where his head's kind of hanging off.
Both, actually,
Both.
because
Okay.
I begged him to continue watching with me.
Oh.
So he was a trooper, and he you know, he agreed to it, and then he regretted it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it was great. You know, it was a nice moment that we shared, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting that particular, it's a very short sequence, but
It is, but highly effective, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
And it stays
yeah.
with you. It stays with you. Because now, I mean, especially after today, I mean, it's hard to forget.
I mean, it's interesting because of its relation to the body horror genre.
Sure.
Which I believe at the point that they made.
And what a great genre that is, eh?
Right.
Now, Casey,
wait.
in case.
I believe at the point that they made it, the movie, it was still a pretty relatively new thing, this body horror thing. And I
You
feel
mean
like
the subgenre in itself, right?
yeah, I mean, I feel like it becomes kind of self-aware at a certain point.
Sure.
Like Reanimator.
Yeah.
That it's already kind of, I think it understands what it is.
Oh, definitely.
But
And it
feel
runs
like-
with it.
Right. I feel like The Thing, it wasn't trying to necessarily push those boundaries
No.
in that way.
No.
But like things like that, like things that remind you of a vagina and birthing and
Sure.
being cut open, like that is integral to the genre. Like if you
It
take
speaks to a deeper a symbolism, you know, and,
Right.
and that I think is just for a horror film at least. It speaks volumes.
right, I connect it to like the birthing sequence of Alien, where the creature bursts out.
Oh,
of the
sure,
chest,
out of
right?
the gentleman's stomach.
The penile creature bursts out of the
Yes,
chest,
yes.
which is funny because it's a direct mirroring of the man giving with the defibrillator, going
Yes.
caving into the stomach,
the
which then
chest cavity, isn't it?
yeah, which eats him. Which is, like I said, it's almost like a reverse. He's
Sure.
penetrating and being devoured,
Exactly.
as opposed to being ripped open from the
Yeah,
outside.
that
of
in
the
itself
birthing.
is a statement. I mean, that's great, and I'll tell you, this is why we do what we do, ladies and gentlemen.
so we can watch.
So we can watch,
monster
so we can sit
birthing.
on our asses, or we can stick, our thumbs up our keisters and just, shovel popcorn in our mouths while watching these films.
Shit, I
What's
bought popcorn and
you
I
really?
forgot to pop it.
Oh man,
Son of a bitch. I guess I was too busy with my finger up my keister.
You know what?
To pop
Seriously.
the fucking popcorn.
you haven't
Shit.
lived until you've had your finger up your keister. Anyway, folks,
Oh man, we're not
seriously,
even.
this is why we do what we do, to give you a better indication of this lovely medium, and in particular the genre. Our cherished genre, the horror genre. So thank you once again for listening. And back to the matter at hand. We're talking about The Thing here. John Carpenter's cult classic. And I'll tell you, when this film was released in 1982, an interesting fact is that the critics panned it, the public panned it, nobody liked it. And I'll tell you something, Case, this is the type of film that, in my observation, was way ahead of its time. Because for it to still hold its own among other films, that are held in high regard, is just speaking volumes of that particular of Carpenter's approach and his contribution. So I'm pretty happy about that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I think a big part of that is the script, for instance, is one of those timeless kind of scripts. They could literally pick it up, drop it in any time period in which at least the technology from then exists.
Sure.
Anytime after, and even a little bit before. And it works. I mean, if you made the movie in 1990, if you make the movie in 2000, they basically prequeled it. But the point being, the technology they use is advanced enough that you could probably take the script verbatim and remake it, and it would probably make complete cognitive sense.
Sure, I think the transition would be quite seamless, I should say.
Yeah, and I think that's a telltale for a brilliantly written movie.
Absolutely. And if I may add to that, the screenwriter, Bill Lancaster, believe it or not, this is so he's got 7 writing credits under his belt.
Yeah.
Okay. And his last work was, I think, a remake of, speaking of remakes, a remake of The Bad News Bears, starring Billy Bob Thornton.
Whoops.
Yeah, if you can believe that. So
I can believe that.
it's been a decade since he's last written, and I'll tell you, for him to have really made a mark with The Thing, he needs to get back at it.
Yeah, he needs to write those kind of scripts. And I mean, like, there's a few of those throughout the history of cinema that you could literally pick up. For instance, one of my favorite, and this is a different genre, but one of my favorite movies is Charade, or Charade, if you will, featuring Audrey Hepburn.
Sure.
And that is
Classic.
another perfect, it's a spy movie, it's really fun, but that's another perfect example of a film that you could pick up and drop, like, basically at any time and it just holds.
I'm glad that we're touching base on this again, because I recall having discussed that during our last podcast. And you know what another film Actually, I should say another film that embodies that.
What?
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah?
Right?
Are you sure it doesn't have kind of a timestamp to it?
Well, it's really, I'll tell you, for its type of film, the type of storytelling that Tarantino chose, it's definitely unique. You know, so it's not supposed to be like a standard formula, basically.
Oh, I see.
But literally, you could. I mean, I recall, flipping the channels and coming across Pulp Fiction and thinking, okay, I know this sequence, and you know what? I'm okay. I'm still okay. I'm halfway through the movie, but that's okay.
Yeah. Definitely could go for a big Kahuna burger right now.
Ooh, okay. That sounds pretty good.
A Kuma fucking burger.
Kuma.
Oh, man.
Can you believe that I have yet to go to Kuma's?
I can believe it. You're vegan.
Well, from what I understand, they have some rather delicious veggie burgers, huh?
Yeah, I think they do. By the way, for people who don't know what we're talking about, this is actually somewhat related. Not to this movie particularly, but to horror. Kuma... man, they should sponsor us because I'm about to drop some fucking knowledge.
There you go.
Kuma
Please.
Burger, and now Kuma 2, which is at I think the street number is actually 666 that they're at.
No way.
It is a heavy metal burger place with the burgers are out of this fucking world, like really good burgers. They're all named after heavy metal bands, and
like what?
Oh god, they're just
like there's a Slayer burger, there's an Iron Maiden burger, Mastodon.
And they're always like playing horror films on the TV,
that's tight.
So you can watch horror movies and you listen to death metal and you eat.
Sounds
these
like my kind of place.
Fantastic burgers. Sounds
like the ideal place for a first date, wouldn't you say?
Oh god, yeah. Well, it depends on I guess who you're dating, but
I guess so.
Shit. Anyway, moving away from cheeseburgers and back to the movie. Which I don't suggest eating while you're watching it.
No,
unless you're one of those people.
Yeah,
I don't have one of those stomachs. I when people say the word poop while I'm eating, it
while
just
you're
ruins
having a
my
cheeseburger,
meal.
Really?
Yeah. Now I don't even want to eat anymore. I was so hungry.
You know what?
Now
there's a huge paradox there because there's poop in your burger.
I don't want to know. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to know.
Ignorance is bliss, I guess.
I don't care. So anyway, practical effects.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. And we were having the discussion. I guess this is the perfect movie, especially because there was the sequel prequel.
Yes.
Where we discuss practical effects versus CGI. Right? This is a good episode for that. So here's the thing. Out of what I've heard, it's actually a lot more expensive to make CGI and in films, and I believe it is just as, if not more, time consuming. So I find it fascinating that a lot of movies, I understand with certain genres, you need it, superheroes, you need CGI. But with other genres like horror, a lot of films have decided to turn in the direction of CGI really to no avail, and for not much of any good reason, I don't think. I feel like they just feel pressured at this point that, to keep up with the Joneses, that they have to use CGI. When in reality, if you take it a masterpiece like The Thing, the practical effects are just, you can't, it's almost indistinguishable at certain parts from reality.
Well stated.
Some things get a little cartoonish, like when the eyeballs pop out of the head when it's a spider.
And then when the head separates itself from the body.
That was.
It was well executed.
Yeah, I'll give it that. The eyeball thing I didn't like, but even the spider movements, like when it's walking behind them towards the door. It looks like a fucking spider moving. Which is, first of all, I don't even know how well sometimes they do that with CGI.
What it is with CGI is that it just feels too robotic at times for me. I can't really recall too many pieces that were, I guess, had a foundation in the CGI realm. I just, that I liked. Avatar's one that I guess I enjoyed. But I wouldn't say that it was amazing.
Yeah, the movements can get relatively stiff, which even with actors perhaps, with the little weird ball things on them, the capturing things, and
the motion capture,
the motion cap and all that, and even with things like ragdoll effect kind of things now, it's still a lot of the movements become very subhuman, and then a lot of that goes towards like budgeting, because something like the Avengers, you're going to have a humongous budget that every last movement can be captured perfectly.
Well, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you something, certain films can pull it off, certain films really can't, you know, but it really places an emphasis on how great practical effects are.
Right. And I'd say especially your independent horror film, but even your major release, it's hard to get the kind of budget that a lot of the action movies are going to get, which the CGI is going to be a lot more convincing because of the budget.
Sure.
So then you're left with this kind of second-rate CGI, not necessarily to say that the people who are behind the CGI are bad at their jobs, but you just don't have the time and the resources to put something together properly. So instead, you have this kind of slipshod, this piece together. We're going to insert it into the movie and hope if we throw enough shadow that no one's going to notice the inconsistencies. And with all of that work and thought, man, you could have just put together a suit, you know?
I mean,
I'll give it to for a movie like Underworld, which the Lycans I think are one of the better representations of werewolves in cinema. Just by the way that
you feel that strongly.
By the way that they're portrayed in media outside of film, I guess, as being these big lumbering polar bear sized beasts,
like a cliche, I guess, or a stereotype.
Yeah,
of some
like
sort.
the hashtag Super Werewolves, Team Super Werewolves.
Oh, there you are.
I've plugged that one in. That's from the Twitter. But anyway,
smooth as a baby's bottom.
The point is that werewolves, especially because of just limitations, they just weren't. They're not able to be as big and beastly. And then you got things like Twilight, where they're just giant dogs, which is fucking stupid.
I mean, that's basically the equivalent to CGI regurgitation. I mean, that's there's no other way to put it. And I feel like it messes with the flow of it all. You know what I mean?
And then but the point is, so you have a few good Howling.
American Werewolf in London?
Yes. Yeah. Is it called Bad Moon? What is the one with the dog is saving the family? Like the dog knows some shit's up.
Was that recent or
no? It's older. It's like late 80s. I think.
Silver Bullet. That's one.
But what is it? I think it's called Batman. The point is, the werewolf in that is like what I think of as a werewolf. It's a big, lumbering, fucking wolf face, man body, like furry beast, instead of either
this towering presence, right?
Yeah, I draw a distinction between wolfmen and werewolves. I think are two separate things. I think the wolfman, I don't see him as a werewolf. I think of it as a wolfman, as opposed to a werewolf. I think of as long snout, big, bipedal, beastly, muscly.
Yeah, like the Howling and your American Werewolf in London.
Impossible size considering where it came from, human being. And then giant puppy dogs, to me, are just, I don't know, True Blood. There's this one werewolf show that's on Netflix.
True Wolf, right? Or not True Wolf. What am I? Teen Wolf, yeah.
Not even Teen Wolf. There's one on Netflix that they turn into wolves, I think. And then ones, werewolves like that, it's just okay, they're dogs. They're shapeshifters. That's what they are. They're shapeshifters. That's a completely different animal. That's a completely different monster. Definitely. They're fucking shapeshifters.
Yeah.
Anyway, and especially because a lot of them, the full moon's not. I mean, I don't think the full moon has to be a prerequisite, but I feel like a lot of those shapeshifters, they don't. No, I feel like a lot of the shapeshifters don't react to the full moon. It's more just they shift at will, which is the sign of a shapeshifter versus a werewolf. Anyway, practical effects. The Lycans, which actually can shapeshift, but the Lycans in that movie were predominantly practical effects. Which when they released that movie was when CGI was really on the rise. Practical effects were going to the wayside.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had the balls to make those giant fucking werewolves out of practical effects, that blew people's minds.
That's a feat of engineering that just leaves someone in complete and utter awe.
Right. And it's, you know, like there's scenes, of course, where they're like running on the walls where obviously it's CGI. But I don't know. When you look at those werewolves, like you're intimidated. Like you're like, you're
terrified.
Those lichens, like that is a werewolf. Like that is something tactile. Like I could reach out and touch that thing and I can feel its skin and I can feel its fur.
That's the beauty of it.
And that interacting with other actors, with human beings, you can't replicate that unless you have like an Avenger size budget. I mean, like you have to have a ton of fucking money to even approach that.
But you know, the thing that really gets me about this whole topic is that less is more. And that's something that I really didn't gravitate towards until I turned 30, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So now I appreciate that, and less is more, which is why I'm not really, you know, I mean, I'm talking today, you know, but I'm kind of just keeping it chill, you know, and just responding accordingly for our listeners at home. Thanks again for listening.
I don't think less is more is appropriate for podcasts necessarily. If you just sit there and don't fucking say a word,
sit here, I'm going to vegetate.
Podcast.
All right, I just needed an excuse to stick my thumb up my keister.
Yeah, so, it's just like, hey, Casey, take the podcast.
Go ahead, Casey. I ride your coattails.
More this fucking thing.
Yes, less is more. How about more is less?
Yeah. So, but practical effects have slowly diminished over time, which is kind of interesting because then when movies are made with practical effects, they're like hailed as being this like genius feat of
what would you say is a good example of that, if you could recall?
Man.
You've got cats like Greg Nicotero, who else? Howard Berger.
Just the entire Jim Henson production team.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Like, Where the Wild Things Are was a beautiful blend of practical and CGI.
Sure.
Because, like, the bodies were, I think, practical. But the face was predominantly CGI.
And I'll tell you, how did you feel that worked? I mean, do you feel that there was a clash, or perhaps it was somewhat seamless?
I thought the blending was seamless because the Jim Henson team are just
they're phenomenal.
They're brilliant.
They're phenomenal,
and they've grown. Like, if you look at, they did Dark Crystal, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you look at from Dark Crystal
with David Bowie,
to yes, with David Bowie, to and what's her name, who ended up gorgeous.
Oh, jeez. Gosh, she was in Requiem for.
Yeah, that was sad watching her at the end.
Requiem for.
Oh, that just ruined it.
That was a brutal movie.
She's like one of the prettiest actresses, classically beautiful actresses that'll actually like get nude for a movie.
She ages. She's managed to age gracefully.
Yeah, she looks almost the same. But anyway, but then moving on to like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I still think they did a fantastic job practical effects wise.
No.
Like it?
Well, I'll tell you what. You mean practical effects back in the days? What you're referring to, correct?
Yeah, the Jim Henson one.
Yeah, so those I take my hat off to them, and they were just delightful creations. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get too into the updated version of the
Michael
movie,
Bay.
Of the film.
You know how I feel about Michael Bay.
We know. Matter of fact, you know what? I think our listeners at home, they want to hear Casey mouth off about the one they call Michael Bay. So, Case, if you want to take it away, come on, treat the listeners to a little something. Let's hear a little fire, huh?
Okay, here we go. Fuck Michael Bay. Done.
Oh, wow.
I just dropped the truth bomb.
That was a tease. That was a tease. You showed us a little leg and then you just backed away.
I have a whole podcast of fuck Michael Bay and me.
How would you feel
none
about,
of it's really horror related
it's not.
for the most part. So let's not talk about Michael Bay. The point being, the Jim Henson puppet, the production company. Yeah. And then you look at like Where the Wild Things Are, and you watch the company actually kind of evolve with the times because late 80s, early 90s it was okay for it to be more cartoonish.
Sure.
And now as things have gotten a little bit more, I guess, rooted in some sort of reality, I feel like they've evolved with that as a team, which is wonderful. But if you had top of the line people like their production company involved in other production companies for horror films, you'd have so much
a higher quality of practical effects.
Yeah, on a lower budget.
Sure,
like you'd be able to produce.
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
does it not?
Right.
I mean, it makes sense to me. Especially
like,
when you compare the numbers,
Yeah.
it's like apples to oranges, I would imagine.
I would imagine, yeah. And like Rob Zombie, he uses mainly practical effects.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
The Devil's Rejects. Come on. We touched base on that, I think, during our last podcast, and it warrants another mention. Mm-hmm. But
So,
back to the thing.
Yeah, so practical effects, man. It's...
Seriously, I think that the practical effects, in my opinion, an observation, they're the star of the film. You know, Kurt Russell is amazing in it. I think he hits the right notes. But, you know, Rob Bottin, I think, is the guy who steals the show. Ennio Morricone, the score. Let's talk about the score, Case. You know, tell me what you feel when you listen to the score.
It lends very well. It accents when it needs to accent. It's not too 80s. It's not too over the top.
Not at all. Aged well.
Yeah, it aged well. Like the rest of the movie, it aged well. And it was sporadic enough. It didn't ruin things like modern horror films do. It didn't build at the wrong times and set you up too much, which is good.
And that, you know, that's what you want in a film.
Yeah, so the music composition was great. And so I wanted to move a little bit, I guess there's more to talk about with body horror.
Sure.
Which I guess we can kind of circle back around.
Yeah.
But for a moment, I'm a big guy for themes.
You do like your themes.
Yeah, the thing is, like, when I took that, once again, the college thing, when I took that horror film course, most of what the course was based around was thematic elements as opposed to effects. And
like more visceral, yeah.
Yeah, so no, it was more about what the movie was about beyond the plot.
Understood.
So I think The Thing is a perfect example of modern times and theme, which we briefly discussed in the last podcast. In so much as we were talking about different time periods and how you can see reflections in the media, especially in horror films, of what was going on and what the general atmosphere and the political climate and things like that.
Considered a time capsule of sorts.
Right. So this is where it does slightly divert from being timeless, in the sense that, to me, a lot of what the movie about is it's 1982. Like, we're in the middle of the Cold War with Russia.
Mm-hmm. Tensions
are high.
Yeah,
we're closing in on the 11th hour. There's paranoia rampant, and this is a theme from the movie. When you look at it, a lot of people, most of the people in the film, even though they're co-workers and cohorts, they're not really friends. They don't spend a whole lot of time mourning each other's deaths. They're mere acquaintances,
actually.
Right. They barely know each other.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's this deep level of paranoia of who's it,
who done it,
who is it among us. And that, to me, is a throwback to the Cold War as far as spies. So there was that feeling in the Cold War era that the Russian spies are amongst us. It could be your neighbors. And just like spies, he says something along the lines, you know, it'll fight if it has to. It's vulnerable while it's in the open. Just like a spy, they'll fight if they have to fight. If they're in the open, if you know their secret identity, they're extremely vulnerable because you know they'll be killed. They know it's treason.
I'll tell you, those are rather spot on connotations there.
Yeah. So, and then we're looking at once again the 11th hour. Sure. They're discussing in the movie how if it spreads, the world's destroyed.
Pretty much.
And that's what we were talking about with mutually assured destruction. The fact that if the bombs went off, like, the world's fucked. Like, that's nuclear holocaust. We're done.
In a nutshell.
And then the most prevalent theme is especially with the body invasion and the invasion of the body snatchers. Just the general invasion theme is that we're afraid that they're going to be invading us.
Sure, it's more of an internal invasion.
Right. So they're taking forms that look like us, but they're trying to replace us.
Yeah.
And just like with the Cold War,
Sure.
or with any kind of major invasion type, you'll see a lot of movies during wartime that have to do with the other and how the other is trying to invade our way of life. And in this, it's an alien, literally an alien, but it's an alien force that is trying to take over and establish
Sure.
its way of life amongst our world.
See, this is the thing that you just hit on something pretty solid. That's an excellent perspective, but you want to know something? I am more inclined to think that it's, or to believe rather, that the alien is simply trying to, find its way back home.
What?
Yeah, so it's a host. Basically, it works as a host, right?
Right.
So it's trying to find its way back home via the nearest body, the warmest body.
Why would it want to go home?
Who knows?
And at what point does it imply that it wants to go home?
Well, anytime that it attacks.
Doesn't. I don't understand.
Basically, anytime that it attacks, it's trying to, it's like it feels threatened.
No, I thought when they were looking at the computer generated image that it was a complete,
like approaching them.
No, it was when they were looking at the green computer and it was doing the red.
Sure.
When it was being replicated, I thought that was supposed to be a spot-on analogy to a virus.
Well, very similar too. The thing is, this
it literally reached out, grabbed other cells, and replicated.
Sure.
Which is essentially what a virus is doing, spreading through your body.
But think about that. There's also an underlying tone there. Of it's desperation.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. Like, to me,
I feel like this is open to interpretation.
I get that,
really
but the purpose of a virus is to replicate and consume.
Sure.
And out of what we see in the movie, without any kind of, because I don't think there's any hints otherwise, all the creature does is replicate and consume.
Sure.
It kills them and it
But
replicates
imagine
them.
if it didn't have, a host or basically something to feed off on. I mean, it would get pretty desperate and it would probably, who knows, maybe.
Well, I'm sure a virus would get pretty desperate too if it had no way of reproducing.
Exactly. So that's the desperation that I'm speaking.
Well, I don't think that means it wants to go home. I don't.
Well, it could mean that.
I don't think a virus is looking for home. I think it's looking to replicate.
Well, maybe home is exactly that. A place to replicate. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I guess.
But moving on.
Well, no, because that's how I
no, this is the
that,
thing. So that basically, in a nutshell, your interpretation isn't wrong.
Right.
Neither. So basically,
I know it's not a right or wrong thing,
yeah,
but
exactly.
But if you look at the way it would have spread, 27,000 days, it would have spread all over the planet. Once again, it's like our fears of Ebola, our fears of swine flu.
Sure.
We're afraid, or like the Black Plague that killed almost the entire human population.
A nod to the Black Plague.
Right. The point is, it's a virus. It's consuming. It's destroying, and it's changing its environment around it. Which is almost also a throw to humanity. The thought, I guess the Matrix talks about it, but in general, the thought that we're a virus on the earth, that we're consuming and we're destroying.
Wow.
So we're the invaders in that sense.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I actually had a similar notion as well. And I'm pretty much down to the T. I'll say the same. Basically, it speaks to a deeper connotation, one that allows you to shed a little perspective on your own life, with respect to the aspect of consuming and such. So that's a solid, definitely a solid perspective on that.
Yeah. So I guess circling back around to the body horror part. So the body horror genre in general, which I think was heavily spurred by The Thing, were there a lot of examples before The Thing?
Oh, definitely. You got Alien, all right? Ridley Scott's Alien, which pretty much, I'd say, it paved the way.
Was it 79 or 80?
78, if I'm not mistaken.
78,
correct.
Wow.
Yes.
I would have pegged that as later.
Oh, I mean, that speaks to how well it still holds up. So, yeah, for sure.
True story.
Yeah. But we're talking about body horror here. We got films like The Fly, all right, 1986, directed by David Cronenberg.
That is a gross movie.
You know what? It was brutal in its depiction of gore and just the transformation, the whole nine. Gosh, you know.
And the actor, what's his name?
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
He is a fantastic actor.
He is great. He was great. He was also lovely in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I liked him in that.
Of course.
But yeah, he was just excellent in The Fly and just terrifying. I remember watching that as a kid and thinking to myself, wow, okay, this guy's losing his teeth. He's losing his nails. You know, I think he's ripping skin off. You know, it's just intense.
Yeah, it's like jaw falls off, right?
Something like that. Oh, my goodness.
Like in front of the woman, it just kind of falls off.
You know, but I'll tell you what, that is my type of movie. You know, I love creature feature films and films that pretty much pay homage to that era.
Yeah, and they do a good job with like the wet and the sticky.
Oh, the slimy and such.
Slimy.
Yeah, it's just
which I feel like
the use of slime.
Yeah, from like a practical standpoint, it's not like there's cartoonish kind
elements
of slime.
Or
like Reanimator is very over the top cartoony.
Do you want to hear something about the film Reanimator? That's interesting. While we're in the vein of body horror and of course just having a touch based on the practical effects.
Just really quick, I think it's in contrast. The sliminess, all that stuff is more real based as opposed to Reanimator. All right, go ahead.
But listen to this. They used a total of 25 gallons of blood. Fake blood, that is, of course.
Fake blood, of course.
Allegedly. Who knows? I don't know.
Pig's blood.
But it was 25 gallons of blood for the entire film. Yeah.
Is that a lot or a little?
No, that seems... Okay, well, if you recall the film, it was quite gory, I'll tell you. And it just... The entirety of the film was pretty much... I'd say gore.
I don't know how many gallons of blood they usually use in a horror movie.
I really don't know, but that seems like a small number to me for some reason. I would expect maybe in the hundreds easily.
But yeah,
but that's excellent.
We were discussing earlier that scene of the severed head and the eating the woman out there.
It acquaints itself with a naked young lady. Well, not a young lady, but a lovely young woman, a dame.
Dame?
Yes, a dame.
Is dame a good word for this? It's not a film noir here.
No, but it's a good word, dame. So she's it's
when I think of dame, I don't usually think of a naked woman getting eaten out by a severed head.
Well,
that's not the word I associate. I don't associate dame with that.
Then there must
often.
Be something seriously wrong with me.
I guess, or me.
Or you.
Maybe I just should start associating fancy dames with severed heads.
Please, it's class, man. Come on, bring back some class. I think that's how
serial killers start.
Is it?
They start taking things like, hey, that's a pretty woman. I wonder what her head looks like on a stick.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah,
that's how serial killers start.
That's how they start. In fact, that was
Eric,
quite...
they start watching horror movies at 5 years old. Whatever. And then... And then from there, they start torturing small animals. And
no. Heavens, no.
Yeah, well, you're a vegan, so I would imagine torturing animals was skipped.
Indeed. Yeah,
but people,
I'll pass.
Who knows? Are you one of those, like, animals are more important than people?
No, I think we're all equal.
Okay.
All
right, but you're not like one of those, like, I'd rather kill a person than a dog.
Well... No, that's a ridiculous and absurd argument.
People do it. I mean,
I think it's equal, man.
You've been online.
You mean? Are you referring to the interweb?
I would rather have my cat than a baby any day. My cat is my baby.
In fact, I fed my baby to my cat.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about cats though, and versus dogs.
Yes,
which is why I hate fucking cats. Part of it, but if you die, like your dog's instinct will be to like seek out help and then like try to figure out what's going on, and then maybe after a long enough time, if it's starving, it'll eat you. Cats will go right in on your shit. As soon as you're dead, man, they will start eating your ass. They don't give a fuck. Like you're nothing to them. Like, oh, my food source dried up. I guess you're my food source now.
Exactly.
They're not gonna look for help. They're not gonna try to like 911 or anything like. Not dogs can, but I feel like if a dog could dial 911, they probably do it more than they should. But cats,
you know what I think?
So cats wouldn't even have a cell phone available. They'd just be like, whatever. I'll check my pager every once in a while.
You're like, yeah, screw that guy. He's probably got his thumb up his keister anyway.
Yeah, this guy,
right?
Eating popcorn with his thumb up his ass,
shoveling popcorn in his mouth. That prick.
Speaking of which, there's a theater up the street, like the 400 or whatever. They got really good popcorn.
Is that right? Now, the 400 theater. Walk me through what type of theater this is, because I love
tiny little like hole in the wall, like old school hole in the wall
that's
theater.
Excellent. Okay.
Shitty like torn up chairs. I went with my buddy Roger, who's like in his 40s.
Okay.
And he was talking about.
Hi, Roger.
Hi, Roger. And he was talking about how when he was in high school, he used to go there. But
Is that right?
It's like $8.50
It's
for
like,
a ticket.
is it like a grindhouse
Super cheap.
kind of environment or feel?
Yeah, it's just it's a beat up old theater. That's where I saw The Visit last night.
Oh, excellent.
And
which we'll be discussing sometime in the future.
But delicious popcorn. I realized that like they overdo it too much with like
The butter?
AMC and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
It's just way over the top.
saturated with butter.
Yeah, like this was just like not only that, but it had more flavor.
Okay.
I don't know why that. Anyway, popcorn's great.
Do you realize that we just wasted about maybe 6 to 7 minutes of our listeners' lives discussing, of all things, popcorn?
Hey, it's a movie related podcast.
It is indeed.
So if you don't talk about
It's warranted.
popcorn
You have
at
to.
some point,
Let's all go to the movies. Let's all go to the movies. Let's all go to the movies.
are you done?
I'm done.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so body horror.
Yes.
So
we discussed The Fly, right?
We discussed
which you
The
really
Fly.
dug.
We discussed Reanimator.
Okay.
Which was definitely one to take off. My favorite, which I think falls into the genre, is Hellraiser.
Oh wow, that's
besides The Thing, of
excellent
course. But
choice.
like,
Okay.
Hellraiser is my jam. Especially
your jelly jam.
my jam, especially as it progresses and it gets like, especially like Hellraiser 2 was amazing.
Oh, a worthy sequel.
Yeah, I'd say
It's up there with Evil Dead 2.
There's a lot of argument over if it's better than the original, and I could see it either way.
Yeah,
I could see it go either way.
You know, I don't care for that. That's nonsense to me. It's a bunch of noise. All right,
You don't
is
think
one better than the
don't
other?
think
It's like
better? Oh,
to
okay.
hell with that notion. All right, they're both great films,
Right.
And that's it. They both they stand alone.
in their own respective ways. 'Cause,
Sure.
I feel like the first one was more based in our world, and then the second one was more based in their world, taking it to the hell dimension.
Yeah,
That was the
definitely.
second one, right?
I believe so.
Like
Yeah, the
she's
second
in a
one,
psych
correct.
ward.
Correct.
And,
yeah.
and that's. But body horror, that takes it on a different path, which was interesting. First of all, touching with the BDSM, which like the sadomasochism and all that. I was actually just listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, I believe, that they were talking about how some people are wired differently on like just a fundamental level, not just like experiential, but the way that their brain works. They're wired differently. That sometimes feelings of pleasure are distasteful, where feelings of pain are actually erotic or just like feel good.
It stimulates them, you know.
It stimulates them, which is the Hellraiser, like the Cenobites. They that is the extreme form of that.
That's their purpose, basically.
Yeah, their purpose is to bring basically sexual enlightenment through such a high level of pain.
Yeah.
Which, oh my God,
That concept in itself is just.
We're going to have to do Hellraiser at some point just because, once again, the film class, a big thing we talked about was ecstasy, which basically in that definition isn't sexual. And we're going to get into this and do another podcast because this is like a half-hour conversation.
Definitely.
But ecstasy in that definition is any removal from continuity. Sorry, from discontinuity to continuity.
Okay.
So, sex, pain, anything, drowning, anything that brings you out of your ego
element
and puts you into the everything is considered ecstasy. Meditation, everything is considered ecstasy. So, in that, Hellraiser, they're Cenobites. They remove you from your discontinuous being, and they recreate you in this high form of ecstasy into a human-like creature, and that's where the body dysmorphia that is body horror takes place. Is even though there's like the guy with his skin peeled off and the torture sequences of the hooks and pulling bodies apart, which of course whatever, but the big body horror in that is the Cenobites themselves, with the torn up throats, the faces peeled back,
well, I'll tell you
sewn
something.
together. You know,
their appearance pretty much speaks to the fact that they're from hell. Okay,
right.
The thing is, I don't believe that's their intention to depict all that as hell. In fact, I think that what they're thinking is, or I should say, their angle is to depict or perhaps try to express their version of heaven.
Right, and I think they get that into that in the movie
Sure.
at some point, don't they? In one of the sequels, I think they kind of, or maybe
Touch
in the
base
original,
with- yeah.
they touch base on that. Yeah, what the dimension that they're not from a hell dimension. They're
No,
from,
it's just otherworldly.
yeah, they're just from a dimension that goes into a different level of ecstasy.
It's in
that
another
instead
realm.
of finding enlightenment through peace, they find enlightenment through pain.
Which is courtesy of the great Clive Barker. And, this might be a bit premature, but I'm certainly hoping that sometime in the future we can go ahead and call him a listener. So, Clive, if you're ever having to listen to this here or you find yourself listening to us, we salute you, good sir.
That's definitely
and we
shooting
thank you
high.
for listening. Well, hey, you know what they say? Shoot high, and if you miss, guess what? You'll fall amongst the stars. That's right, good sir. Or something like that, something to that effect. But anyway, going back to
space.
What's that?
I can't breathe.
Who can?
Space.
You can't even scream in space.
No
No.
sound.
Nope.
Sorry
in
about
space, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah, that's a cliche.
No, it's actually the tagline for Alien. Boom, there you go.
Was it a thing before that, or did that actually spur it?
No, the aliens spurred it.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
wow. Good for them.
But back to body horror, we're talking about films such as The Fly. We got Hellraiser, which we were touching base on
Hellraiser,
here.
which once again, it's one of my favorites. But like I said, it diverts.
Would you say that pretty much resonated with you the most? That particular element that you just touched base on?
I don't know what it is about the film that that really spoke to me. I do remember I was watching the Hellraiser series in 2013 when I was couch surfing.
Okay.
And we had just stopped at this one guy's house, and it was the creepiest. Like, we went the entire year couch surfing. We stayed with some amazing hosts, and they were beautiful people, and we got to really we had an enriched environment where we got to learn about their cities from the perspective of the people who live there.
Sounds fruitful.
I love it. There's no money involved. I used to host people all the time, but I can't with my current roommates. But anyway, we ended up at this one guy's house, and we were desperate, so we kind of just we used to have a rule that if they didn't have at least like 7 positive reviews, that we wouldn't stay there.
Okay.
And this kid had like 2 positive reviews that were kind of sketchy, and then one like neutral review. So this is like definitely someone we don't usually stay with. And we end up showing up. It's supposed to be this 18-year-old kid, and we end up showing up, and it's like fucking Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean,
Really?
like it's lower, so it's Springfield somewhere. It's one of the Springfields,
Okay.
the shitty one. And it's
People in Springfield are going, thanks a lot, bucko.
yeah. Well, there's a Springfield in like every state. Anyway, so there's a street, the trees, like a Fear Street by R.L. Stein cover.
now?
Fear Street by R.L. Stein.
Right.
So there's this road. It's autumn, so the trees are hanging and the
Wait, is
leaves
this
are
real?
falling. This is what happened. And the leaves are falling, and we pull up, and the entire city of Springfield, the entire city was like lower middle class.
Okay.
So we're looking at a bunch of blue collar workers who have slowly been losing their jobs to automation.
Oh, wow.
So this is already the set of a horror film.
Yikes.
We walk up to the door, and we try calling him. He's not picking up. We walk up to the door, and we knock. And this old lady answers the door, and we're like, we asked for the kid, and she's like, he doesn't live here. And we're like, this is the address we were given. And she's like, no, but do you want to come in? Blah, blah, blah. We can, wait for blah, 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 get home. I'm like, no, we're like, no, it's okay. But this lady's she's old, she's kind of creepy. And we end up going back down the stairs, and we're trying to find the kid. So we're trying to find the kid. And we finally get through to the number, and this guy answers, and he's like, yeah, I'll be home, blah, blah, blah. And we're sitting there, and he's like, Andrew, my buddy who I'm traveling with, is like, it doesn't sound like he doesn't sound like 18-year-old. I think he was like a Pakistani kid or something.
Okay.
It doesn't sound right. So we're debating just getting the fuck out of Dodge.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. And this car pulls up, and this guy gets out, and he's probably in his I'd say late 40s, early 50s.
Okay.
And this dude gets out of the car, and he's like, "Hey, are you Casey and Andrew?" And we're like, "Who the fuck are you?" You know, like, who is this guy?
Formidable reaction.
Yeah, exactly. And so it turns out that he knows this kid, but he's using his profile. And I'm like, "Does the kid live there?" And he's like, "No, I just know him." And we're like, "You know an 18-year-old kid? That's fucking weird."
A little off.
So we had nowhere to stay. We weren't in our right mind. So we go inside, and he sets us up, and he buys us pizza. We go and get pizza.
He buys you pizza.
He buys us pizza, which is nice.
Was it good?
And then it was all right. It was his favorite place, but it was all right.
What was it called?
I don't fucking remember, dude. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and he starts getting super racist.
What did he say?
He was just talking so much shit about the Puerto Ricans.
What?
About how the Puerto Ricans are ruining the neighborhood.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, I'm half Puerto Rican, dude. Like,
Can you tell him how much? What percentage are you?
Half. I'm half Puerto Rican.
So you're 50%.
I'm 50% Puerto Rican. My mom's from Puerto Rico.
So what the other 50% is?
It's a mix of white. I think like
White?
German, Swiss. I don't fucking know. But anyway, so this guy's like talking mad shit about Puerto Ricans, and I'm just like, dude, I'm Puerto Rican. Let's not go there. And I go back to the house, and his old, crazy, senile mother's there. And he's like 50, so she's like 80.
80?
And she lives with him.
Ooh.
And
Kind of like a psycho thing going on?
God, it was weird. It got weirder. This
Really?
isn't where it ends.
Oh, no.
This is a true story, by the way. This isn't me.
Ladies and
riffing.
gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, okay, we got Casey talking about this is an experience.
Oh, God. Anyway, so we're sitting there talking to the guy, and we hear a noise coming from upstairs, and we're like, and his mother's on the, like, sitting in their recliner chair watching shitty TV like old people do. And we're like, what the fuck is that?
Our old demographic just pretty much left us.
We don't have one.
Thanks, Case.
I've been doing the numbers.
They're like, oh, that's what you think, Sonny.
We don't have an old demographic. Anyway.
Okay.
So upstairs, we hear this noise, and we're like, dude, what the fuck is that? And he's like, oh, that's my roommate. He's from, I don't know.
Norway.
He was from, like, I think it's India or something. I don't know.
Oh, India.
He's like, that's my roommate. He's from blah, blah, blah. He's like 40 years old. And I'm like, you have a 40-year-old roommate with your mom in the house?
Oh, that's
weird.
a little odd, yeah.
You could have told us that you had a fucking roommate before we, like, came in the house, put all of our stuff down.
Sure.
You know, that's weird. He's like, oh, he never really comes out of his room. It's okay.
Okay.
And we're like, that's
much better.
That's much better.
Yeah, and then, much more reassuring.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then later, it's like we're getting ready to go to bed, and we hear another noise coming from the basement.
Uh-oh.
And we're like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, oh, I have another roommate from China who's also in his mid-40s.
Shut your mouth.
This is a
That's
fucking
hilarious.
true story. And we're like, why didn't you mention him when we were talking about the last roommate?
Oh, my goodness.
You have another roommate?
Holy
and he's
heck.
like, yeah, I have two roommates.
He's down there eating bonbons.
Never saw the guy in the basement. Never went in the basement.
What? So you never bothered to go down there?
Are you kidding me? Have you seen horror movies?
Okay,
We're on a
of course.
fucking horror podcast.
Yes, we are.
Would you go into the basement when you heard weird noises?
Of course.
No. So it's, oh my God. So this is where it gets to Hellraiser.
Sure.
So I since I'm a fucking idiot, I'm powering through the Hellraiser series.
But they say Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. The Hellraiser.
Get the Hellraiser. Anyway,
so I'm now it sounds weird to say Hellraiser.
Hellraiser.
But anyway,
but say it with some like just
because now I'm thinking of razor blades. Anyway,
Hellraiser.
So anyway, I'm watching a Hellraiser movie. It's maybe 4 a.m. because I couldn't sleep properly.
Okay.
Obviously because I was fucking scared.
Wow.
So
by the way, how long ago was this? Like roughly, if you could say.
2013.
Oh wow, so 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're I'm watching this movie. My roommate's asleep. Not roommate. The guy I was traveling with. He ended up being my roommate.
Was this your Chinese roommate or
Andrew.
your Indian roommate?
No, not my. That was his roommate.
Okay.
Anyway,
I like that. You're like,
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Okay. Good one. Okay. Yeah. None of them. Okay. pal?
Backtrack.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I start hearing these steps, and someone's coming down the stairs, and it's like 4 a.m. And I'm just like, what the fuck? It's like one stair at a time.
Oh goodness. Oh no.
And I'm watching Hellraiser, and I'm in the living room, and I'm completely exposed. And this guy's, and we're by the staircase, and this guy's coming down the stairs, and I'm just like, whoa, what do I do? And he just went into the kitchen, and I guess I asked next
Made
day,
himself a sandwich.
Apparently, he like just goes to work super early.
Oh, I
Never
see.
saw him.
Okay.
Never saw the guy downstairs.
Oh my
Never.
goodness.
The whole time saw
Really?
either one of them.
Okay.
And I get up in the morning.
That's wild.
This is what I wake up to. And most people, I mean, he's in his mid 50s and we're in his house. But most people, I would deck him. I don't like being touched. Like, nobody does.
Yeah.
But I wake up to his stubby fingers poking me in
Shut
the
your
fucking
mouth.
face.
Shut your mouth
poking
right now.
me in the cheek
Shut
to
it.
my teeth.
Just shut
and
it.
he's poking me. And he's like, "Hey, wake up! I'm cooking breakfast." And I'm just like,
Just like that. He
Like
sounds like Paul Bunyan.
something like-
"Hey, I'm cooking breakfast and I'm cutting wood for you." Like,
something like he says, poking me in the face, and I'm just like, "What the fuck, man?"
is going
like,
on?
he's waking me up by poking
what was your
me
reaction?
in the mouth.
What was poking you
just
in the mouth,
shocked,
gagging
man.
you with his finger?
Fucking shock. I didn't know what to do. I'm like waking up to this 50-year-old poking me. And I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Wow.
So like we get up and we eat breakfast, and we're just like, I don't know what to do here. Like we're talking.
Wait a second. So you actually sat down and had breakfast with him?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
That's hilarious because here we are talking about this.
And we
gentleman.
left, I think, to get work done, or I don't remember what we
Okay.
did during the day.
That's kind of funny though.
But Andrew's
Because you're
like,
freaked out, but yet you had breakfast with him.
Yeah, and Andrew's
Was
like,
it nice?
I don't know, whatever. Andrew's like, dude, I had this like horrible nightmare last night that like he came downstairs and he stabbed me to death.
Shut your mouth.
And I'm like, oh no, I'm like,
Shut up.
we need to get the fuck out of Dodge. So we call.
That's intense.
Yeah, so we call our buddy who was in Providence. We had just left Providence, Rhode Island, and this amazing guy hosted us. He had the most well-trained dog I've ever seen in my life, and
Is that right?
he owns a chain of delicious grilled cheese sandwiches.
Shut up.
He has a grilled cheese sandwich chain in Providence, Rhode Island. I said mac and cheese because he has a mac and cheese grilled cheese sandwich.
Oh, sweet.
But so we call him and we're just like, dude, we're not in a good place.
Yeah.
We're fucking terrified. We fucked this up really bad. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to be out of town, but I'll leave the door open for you and I'll leave a key and you can just stay here for the weekend or whatever.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. Yeah, wow.
So
that's
that's generosity.
Couch surfing for the rest of the time, we had the nicest people in the world. This was just a bad example. So we...
Would you care to disclose this gentleman's name as a
no,
shout
no,
out or no?
I don't.
That would be
I don't
appropriate.
remember. But so it's so funny because we ended up at one point we went to like Taco Bell in the city, and it was just like everyone was just quiet and staring at us, and like there was this like dude with like a mullet and a wolf shirt who's just eyeing us the fuck down in this Taco Bell. And we're just like, this is the weirdest town. Like the entire town was lower middle class. So a bunch of like what used to be nice houses slowly dilapidating.
Wow.
So the whole town is terrifying.
This is, it's interesting because, I'm pretty compelled. And I'm fairly certain that the listeners right now are somewhat compelled as well. They want to see, okay, well, oh my gosh, what's the twist? What's the turn? You're still getting a Hellraiser, right?
I already went past Hellraiser.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, but I
must
wanted
have
to
missed
finish
that.
the story.
Okay,
Should I
go
not
for
finish
it.
the
No,
story?
please finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, listeners at home, if you don't like my real life horror story. Anyway, so we go back and he's like, oh, we're going to go grab dinner with whatever that kid was tonight that was on the profile. And we're like, oh, okay. So we go, and this kid, first of all, he mentioned to us that he doesn't know why, but Couchsurfing shut down his profile and banned him.
Why is that?
What?
Oh, you said he wasn't.
He got
certain.
banned from the website.
Okay, and he didn't know why.
And he says he didn't know why, but I mean, you can rack up a lot of negative reviews and not get banned. The only reason you get banned from couch surfing is like if you like assault somebody.
I see, like verbally, right?
No, I mean like if you like sexually or physically assault someone.
Oh wow!
Like it's really hard to get like banned
Sure.
because it's more of just like if someone has enough negative reviews, you just don't stay with them because you
Okay.
read the reviews, you're like, this guy's fucking crazy, and then people just don't stay with him anymore.
Sure.
You have to get reported to get banned.
I see.
So the fact that he got banned was terrifying. So anyway, we go out with this kid is still in high school. He's like actually like 17.
Oh wow!
I don't know how he has a picture of this kid. It's kind of weird. And I guess he's trying to take on this, he says big brother, but more of a father figure role.
Okay.
And the kid's not really having it. But I guess the kid's still pretty new to the country. He's an immigrant. I think he's there to study. He's from Pakistan. His family's from Pakistan.
Okay.
And I guess none of them really know how to navigate, the United States. They ended up in this fucking shitty, scary town, that it's not a good representation
That they're
of the
completely
country.
alien to, basically.
Yeah, I mean, they come to America, to this crazy fucking weird town, and this crazy weird guy befriends, and I don't know what their culture's like.
Kind of got like a Cape Fear type feel to it, yeah.
So, and he's pushing this kid's, but first of all, he starts making Puerto Rican jokes. So he starts making racist we're at a Chinese restaurant, but he's making racist Puerto Rican jokes.
Sure.
And I am getting steadily more and more angry, and like Andrew's giving me this look like, dude, just stay calm, because I am like on the edge of my seat,
You're
about
livid.
to jump over and fucking punch the guy.
Understandably so.
And then he like kind of stops and he starts talking about the kid, and he's like saying like, I guess I'm kind of like one of your family. He's like, no, you're not. And he's like, oh, and he's talking about like hijabs, and he's like, so I don't know about like what your culture is like, why they're wearing that head thing. And he's like, yeah, hijabs. Oh, actually, I said hijabs, and he was like, and for a second he connected, and he's like he saw me, and when I said that, he had this like bright look in his eyes, like, oh my God, it's another human being.
Sure.
Like he knows what a hijab is.
Right.
He's not like this isolated bumfuck
This
Springfield
dense,
guy
right,
who doesn't
excuse
know
for an
anything
existence,
about
yeah.
culture. So we started talking a little bit about the Middle East, because like I used to date a Pakistani girl.
Oh, okay.
Half Pakistani. And I love the food, and I love anyway, so we're talking about the culture. And we started talking about the hijab and how like, it's like inappropriate to show the hair and all that, and only family can see that like that. And he was like, well, I guess I could probably see your sisters with their hijab off. And he's like, no. And he's like, well, I'm like a family member. And I'm like, no, dude, that's like seeing a girl naked. You
Sure.
don't no. And he's like, well, I'm like one of the family. And the kid's like, no, dude, like my sister, no, you would never see my sister without her hijab on.
my
What the hell are
goodness.
you talking
Yeah.
about? So this guy's fucking creeping out this kid who he apparently hangs out with. He's creeping us out.
Okay.
I don't know what the fuck we were thinking, but we're like, let's leave in the morning. We'll just fuck off. We won't say anything. We'll just run out. We'll stay one more night.
Sure.
So we wake up. Again, he's cooking breakfast. He's like, I'm going to make you my famous licorice pancakes. And I'm like, licorice pancakes? What the fuck is a licorice pancake? And we eat it, and it's as awful as it sounds.
That sounds
And-
pretty awful.
And he goes, like, we thought he left.
Does
but
it go
I
on
guess-
like it comes out?
Anyway, so we thought he left. I guess he went upstairs, and we were getting all of our shit packed, and like I don't know. I'm like, dude, what if you like poisoned us? Like, what if maybe that's why they tasted weird.
At what
like,
point did you think that?
like after
Prior
I
to or
ate
after?
them,
Oh,
I'm
really?
like, actually before to a point. But I'm like, what if he's poisoning us so we can't leave? Like, what if our tires are slashed when we go outside? Maybe it's good that we didn't tell him we were leaving. And so we're like fucking off the door, out the door. And he's like, oh, where are you guys going? I thought we were going to go see some museums today. We're like, no, we have to run. We left a bag in Providence, and we have to go pick it up.
Okay.
And we just-
Solid save.
And he's like, okay. And we fucked off out the door. And I swear to God, like, it's something about the licorice pancakes. My stomach was hurting. And I was like, that motherfucker
no.
poisoned us. But he didn't, and we're alive. But that's that story.
Heck of a story, Case. I'm captivated, moved, practically moved to tears here.
Oh, God. Anyway.
You can't see me. I'm behind this screen here.
Yeah.
And, it almost seems like I'm at confession. It's like, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been about maybe, 6 or 7 years since my last confession. Anyway.
So after that long story, do you want to circle back around? Or do you want to...
So we're basically, I guess, just finishing up on the body horror subgenre, okay? With such entries as Reanimator, all right, Stuart Gordon's lovely homage to H.P. Lovecraft. Then, of course, we have 1987's Hellraiser, directed by none other than Ridley Scott. And, of course, finishing off there with the, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Did I say
you
Hellraiser,
said
Ridley Scott? Oh,
That's
you know
Clive
what?
Barker
No,
movie.
it is indeed Clive Barker.
I was like, what?
Yeah. I'm too excited. That's excitement right there for you. That's
Alien,
what excitement sounds
right?
like.
Ridley Scott.
But so basically, in a nutshell, The Thing, an excellent study in paranoia, and also an excellent study in the body horror subgenre, or of the body horror subgenre. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add to what we've covered thus far there, Case?
No, man. I think it's. I think we're about ready to throw to WOLF news.
Okay.
All right. So stay tuned. We're gonna have an entry from WOLF news, action news, and then we're gonna be throwing to our Ghost Radio song by the Brains. So stick around. Hello, and welcome to WOLF Action News. Welcome and good evening. I am that itch in your back that you can't quite scratch.
And this is RJ McCready coming to you live.
Here are tonight's top stories.
WOLF Action News has reported that the remains of a body believed to belong to the man widely known to authorities as the arsonist was just recovered from the outskirts of a forest preserve in Western Springs, Illinois. Along with the body was a letter stating the following: I vow to set myself ablaze in the name of my beloved Mother Medusa. May I burn in the hearts of many for all eternity. May the stench of my burning flesh invade your soul for lifetimes to come. All hail, Mother Medusa.
What do you think this means?
Well, I gotta tell you, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Me as well. So,
further accounts confirm that a package resembling that of a gift was also discovered a couple of feet from the yet-to-be-identified body. The following picture was found framed in gold and in said package. The picture, for those of you who can't currently see it, is of a gentleman, if you will, an individual engulfed in flames. More on this story as it develops.
in other news, the recent blood moon has caused an issue in the werewolf community. It seems that some of the werewolves have become super werewolves. You can follow the story with hashtag Team Super Werewolf or Team Super Werewolves. They have gone from regularly changing at the full moon to being stuck in a permanent transformation where they appear rabid, foaming at the mouth, and can't complete sentences. Very much like stupid, slimy zombies.
It wasn't long before decomposition introduced itself in cold yet rather calculated fashion. The slightest sign of life vacated her body almost instantly following the incident, and what an incident it was. She had nothing but a mere shell of a body to show for it. The stench resembled that of the most pungent of smells, and yet the sheer act of inhaling took me to another place. Intoxicating, to say the least. She was a lovely companion to my current altered state. For the first time in my life, my fondness for silence was never more significant than that of the current moment. The authorities will find her, eventually, but they'll be hard-pressed to find all of her, as she'll be in pieces by the time this is published. Hashtag cold-blooded.
What was that?
That was a study in cold-blooded killing. good sir.
Okay. In other news, the recent string of grave robberies has come to an end. There is no more mystery to be had. Even though the Mad Scientists Collective have been looking into the missing bodies, which have not been registered with the local government, the bureaucrats who are extremely confused about the issue and who think that all of the right forms have been filled out, well, the Mad Scientist Collective found out that they're wrong, that there were missing bodies without forms. As you know, Chicago law states that you have to fill out the appropriate forms to rob graves. The Zombie Coalition has so far been quiet about the issue. They have asked us to bring up the point that they do not like being called, quote, barely sentient, stupid bags of flesh, which we have previously called them on WOLF Action News. I would apologize, but they're slimy, stupid bags of flesh. That's right. I said it. Anyway, the Zombie Coalition has admitted that they have not been filling out the appropriate forms, maybe because they're stupid bags of flesh.
Perhaps.
And they wanted to extend their sincerest apologies. Still, the mayor says that even though there is no more need for shotguns and pepper spray, you may want to keep them on hand just in case you are attacked in your home.
Take heed, ladies and gentlemen.
All hail the mayor. So this brings us to an end of WOLF Action News. The mayor has informed us to tell you that tonight the firework display has been canceled. It seems that the fireworks have disappeared.
Say it and so.
Now, when the mayor says disappeared, he is not implying that they have been stolen, but have literally vanished. If you see anyone with these stolen fireworks, contact the police department immediately. They are considered armed, dangerous, and possibly some kind of magical. Well, thank you very much. Now remember, if it bleeds, it leads. Unless it bleeds too much, then it dies. Hello and welcome back to the Gory Details Horror Show. Today we talked about The Thing and body horror. We want to thank you for listening to my rambling story about couch surfing.
Yeah, indeed. And what an entertaining story it was.
What an entertaining story.
It sure was.
Okay, so go ahead and follow us at Gory Details HS. That's at Gory Details HS for Horror Show on the Twitter. And, hashtag super werewolves. Hashtag people taste like pork. And all the other fun ones that were thrown around.
Check us out on Facebook at The Gory Details Horror Show. And as well at thegorydetails@gmail.com. We hope to hear from you. We hope to receive some honesty. And in the same vein, please feel free to express your suggestions. Thank you kindly for listening.
So, this upcoming song on hashtag Ghost Radio
is, of course, from none other than The Brains. The song is entitled I'm Your Nightmare.
And what album is that from?
I believe that is from, actually, you might be able to help me fact check a little bit here.
It's 2011, right?
It is indeed 2011.
Was it Drunk Not Dead?
You know what? It certainly sounds that way. So
you might want to check that while I throw it to the song. If you want to follow The Brains at The Brains MTL, this Montreal-based psychobilly band that really got me into psychobilly. These guys are amazing. They're great musicians.
Would you call them pioneers?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? And like them on their Facebook. Did you look up the name of the album? Now I'm super fucking embarrassed.
Oh, gosh.
You were supposed to be doing this entire time.
Drunk, not dead.
Yeah, I was right. See,
Yes,
totally
indeed.
called that.
Yep.
I should know it. I have like all their
You should.
albums.
You're diehard.
Okay, so thanks again to Colin for letting us run this song.
Thank you very much, sir.
Just so you know, October, Out in the Dark, the new album is being released. So here is I'm Your Nightmare.